Over the next 9 weeks, I'll be traveling throughout Australia and New Zealand. I'll be starting in Darwin of the Northern Territory and making my way south through the outback to Uluru. Then I'll be heading down the Australian east coast from Cairns to Melbourne. Once in New Zealand, I'll be checking out the North Island before the adrenaline and adventure of the South Island. This is my second time in Australia and New Zealand, but this time my bucket list will be a lot shorter. This is the Grand Ocean Adventure. When planning my trip to New Zealand, I looked at several touring companies such as Kintiki, G Adventures, Top Deck, and Haka Tours. And I found that Haka Tours was really the only one that I really gravitated towards because they offered a lot of extra activities that weren't offered on other touring companies. And I wanted my time in New Zealand to be a very personal and epic trip. So I decided to do 3 tours with Haka Tours. So the first tour was a 3-day Bay of Islands tour from Auckland to Paia. My second tour is a 16-day Amplify New Zealand from Auckland to Christchurch. And once we get to Christchurch, we'll be going to Lake Takapo, Queenstown, Wanaka, and Franz Josef. And then I'll be catching a train back to Christchurch. Once I'm back in Christchurch, I'll be doing another tour, the South Island Adrenaline Junkie Tour. And that's a 12-day tour from Christchurch all the way back up to Wellington. And I'll be going back to Lake Takapo, Queenstown, Wanaka, and Franz Josef. And the reason why I've decided that I wanted to go to Lake Takapo, Queenstown, Wanaka, and Franz Josef twice is because of New Zealand weather. New Zealand weather is very, very unpredictable. One minute it could be sunny and the next minute it could be cloudy and rainy. And a lot of these activities in New Zealand are weather dependent. So the activities that I'm really looking forward to in New Zealand, oh my goodness, where do I begin? My bucket list is gonna be completely empty by the time I'm done with this trip. Let's just start off quickly with the North Island. Hobbiton is definitely way up there. Hiking through Tongariro National Park, which is Mordor, seeing Mount Naraholi, which is the Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. On the South Island of New Zealand, that's where all our adrenaline and adventure activities are going to be. Where do I begin? Swimming with dolphins in Kaikoura, hiking on a glacier in Franz Josef, quad biking, canyon swinging in Queenstown, seeing Milford Sound. I'm taking a scenic flight there. I've been to Milford Sound 4 times before, but this time I want to see it from the air, get a different perspective. Canyoning in Abel Tasman, and also doing my first ever skydive. Skydiving is the #1 thing on my bucket list that I've always wanted to do my entire life, and I'm going to be doing 2 jumps in New Zealand, one in Wanaka and one in Abel Tasman on my birthday. So I'm really looking forward to this whole entire trip in New Zealand. I could go on and talk about the activities that I'm going to be doing, but let's just get to the video. So I finally made it to New Zealand. I arrived in the country a couple days ago, got settled into my accommodation, and yesterday we just took a day trip from Auckland all the way up to Bahia, where we are now in the Bay of Islands. Yesterday was pretty cool. We got to see Auckland from above, and then we stopped off at this rainforest, saw this really old tree, Tani Mahuta, and now we have our first full official day here in the Bay of Islands in Bahia, and we're doing a Cape Regina tour, and we're going to be going all the way up to the most northern point of New Zealand. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome time here in New Zealand. I'm really looking forward to it, and further diving into my favorite country outside of Canada. at a sand dune, and we're going to be attempting to sandboard down this amazingly large sand dune. Pretty similar to tobogganing. That was awesome. Sand everywhere though. So this is day one of my Amplified New Zealand trip from Auckland all the way down to Christchurch over the next 16 days. It's going to be an action-packed 2 weeks of pure adrenaline and pure New Zealand adventure. I'm really looking forward to finally picking up the pace here in New Zealand. The first few days have been relatively slow, but yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely amazing. Our first stop after leaving Auckland was at Coromandel, where we went for a walk along Cathedral Cove. We then traveled south to Waitomo, which is famous for their glowworms. Our first encounter with these glowworms was a cave tour by boat, where we got to see lots of glowworms. The next day, we would be venturing deeper into these caves by black water rafting, which is basically caving, but with an inner tube. We weren't allowed to take any GoPros, which was a shame because our guides were really entertaining and fun to be around. However, they did take several photos of us on our adventure. The experience of black water rafting was really amazing and exhilarating, and I would highly recommend doing this activity. After we got dried and warmed up, we journeyed south to Matamata, and the green rolling fields quickly came upon us for our first Lord of the Rings experience, Hobbiton.
The home of Bilbo and Frodo, the kings of our mountains, the jewel in our crown, the biggest hobbit hole we have here at Hobbiton. So as we saw from the last one, there are no insides. Like I said earlier, Hobbiton is just the exterior sets. Only external shots were done here. All the inside stuff that you see was done in a studio down in Wellington. It's a lot easier to do it on a soundstage than it is to dig out an entire hobbit hole, create a set, fit your crew in there, fit your cast in there, and actually get what you wanted on film. So as we can see through the door, Bag End has been decorated, and that is the only hobbit hole it has. So every single one of our hobbit holes opens as wide as the door, back into the hill. They've all been excavated and they have a gravel floor. The only exception is Bag End, and that's just so they can get that awesome shot coming out the door and out onto this view here. they build a brand new set. Twice. And it's looking amazing. Twice. One problem. It's brand new. Hobbiton's supposed to look 400 years old. So they had to age everything. They painted all of the wood with vinegar, and then they got a mixture of paint, wood chips, yogurt and glue. Picked up handfuls and they threw them at the fence to create the moss and the lichen. And they included the yogurt to help encourage the natural growth afterwards. So now what you're seeing is a mixture of real and not so real. Alright, so this is where Sam lives with his wife Rosie Cotton. Now it is the final shot of the Return of the King. Sam is walking up this pathway here. As he gets to about this spot, there's a little girl that comes running out the door to meet him. Rosie comes out the door, she's carrying a baby in her arms. It's all very sweet, all very emotional. Normally by this point I'm crying like a little girl. Now I will tell you why. So, the little girl that comes running out the door to meet Sam. Her real name is Ellie Aston. She is Sean Aston's real daughter. Sean Aston being the actor that plays Sam. So, exactly. Oh. So what you're watching is a real father and daughter embracing on camera. But wait, it gets better. Rosie comes out the door, she's carrying a baby in her arms. That's her real daughter as well. You guys are so expressive, I love it. So now you guys can go back and rewatch that scene and cry just as much as I do knowing the part's all real. Over at the Green Dragon, we've got 4 different drinks for you guys to try out today. They are all made exclusively for us, and they are all original recipe. You can't get them anywhere else in the world, except for our gift shop. They are all made by a brewery over in Hamilton called the Good George Brewery, and they are amazing. And the first round is on me, second round is on you. So what we have is a light beer, which is an amber ale. We have a dark beer, which is a dark ale. We have an alcoholic apple cider, and we have a no alcohol ginger beer as well for those of you under 18 not wanting to drink or having to drive later on.
So we've left Rotorua and we're staying just outside of the town with a local Maori family, which is really unique and going to be an amazing experience. We're going to learn the haka, have a traditional Maori dinner, and get really close to the culture and the tradition of the Maori people, which a lot of the group and myself are really looking forward to. So yeah, let's dive in and see what this evening brings.
Kia ora. Nau mai hoki mai ki tōku papakainga o Galatea. Ko tawhia te maunga ko te whirinaki me te rangata ki tōku awa, ko mātātua te waka, ko ngati manua te iwi, ko ngati hui te hapu, ko ina tōku ingoa. Hello, and welcome to my homeland of Galatea. Now what I just gave you is what we call a pepeha. Now in my pepeha, it is basically a Maori identity. Okay, it states who I am and where I am from. In my pepeha, I named my sacred mountain Tawhiwa. Then I named the 2 rivers that flow through my township. Then I gave you guys the canoe that my people migrated on. Okay, then I named my tribal lands Ngāti Manua. Then I gave you guys my sub-tribe Ngāti Hui. Right at the end, I gave you guys my name. My name is Ina.
Kia mau! Hei! Wā! Kamate, kamate, kaora kao! Kamate, kamate, kaora kao! Tēnei te tangata puhuru! Huru nāna i tiki mai whakawhiti tērā! Hupane, kaupane! Hupane, kaupane, whiti tērā! Hei!
After the haka, it was time for dinner. We were treated to a traditional Maori dinner called a hangi. Using the geothermal heat from the earth, all of the food, including meat, potatoes, and vegetables, are covered, buried, and cooked in the earth giving the food a very unique taste. Yes.
Alright. Down end we've got some more beautiful fried bread, 2 lettuce salads with tomato, cucumber and red onion. On my left there is chicken, on the right there is pork, on the left there is kumara. That's a sweet potato, on the right there is potato, on the left there is pumpkin, on the right there is stuffing. Now my gluten-free friends, if it looks like bread and it tastes like bread, chances are it's made out of bread, okay? We've got mayonnaise, tomato sauce, apple sauce, salad dressing, mint sauce, gravy and cranberry sauce. I hope you're hungry.
Just like at the farm stay in Australia, it was really nice enjoying another home-cooked meal with our new Maori family. But this time, we had lots of leftovers, so we packed the remaining food and would be delivering it to a local school where we would give the children a meal and also have some time to spend with the kids. So we are making our way south to Taupo in order to do the Tongariro crossing, which is the 19.7 kilometer hike, 8 hours, and that is where Mordor took place for Lord of the Rings and Mount Doom. I'm really looking forward to doing this hike as well as several other of my fellow travelers. Unfortunately, the weather isn't looking very promising. It's forecast to be -10 tomorrow with the wind chill, rain/snow mix possible. And yeah, it's just not going to be a really good day, and there's a good chance that the hike might actually be cancelled. Once we left the school, we stopped off at Tipuya, Thermal Wonderland, where we got to see a Maori welcoming ceremony, wood carving, and the geothermal powers of the super volcano.
Hey,
We then traveled south, and just outside of Taupo is Huka Falls, which consists of several waterfalls ranging between 6 to 11 meters high within a span of only about 100 meters. So we finally arrived at our hostel, and we just got the news that the Tongariro crossing hike has been cancelled for tomorrow. It's just too risky with the cold temperatures and the rain and possible snow. Yeah, the weather's so beautiful right now. Tomorrow is supposed to be terrible, and then the next day is supposed to be again beautiful. So unfortunately, yeah, my hike through Mordor is gonna have to be delayed. This was the one hike on my trip that I was most looking forward to. Not only to retrace the steps of Frodo and Sam to Mount Doom, but really get amongst the wilderness and the mountains. But on our way to Wellington, we did travel through Tongariro National Park, and we did get a glimpse of Mount Doom covered in clouds. So we made it to Wellington, our last city on the North Island, before the pure action and adrenaline and adventure of the South Island begins. Yesterday we went to Mount Victoria to get some views of the city, and today we made a stop off at the Weta Workshop. The Weta Workshop is a collection of practical effects and elements such as weapons used in the many films that Weta produces, such as The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies, King Kong, and Avatar, amongst several others. Any Lord of the Rings geek can get their hands on an endless supply of figurines at the gift shop to add to their collection. It was really cool getting a behind-the-scenes look at some of the biggest films in history, and it was very comforting to know that Weta fully endorses practical effects as the primary choice over visual effects. After our tour, we went down to the harbor to board our ferry to head to the South Island. The 3-hour journey gave us time to relax and watch the beautiful scenery as it sailed by. The last couple of weeks on the North Island was memorable. However, we would be kicked into high gear once we arrived on our first stop on the South Island, Kaikoura.